Row coming to you live through the power of the internet. I think there's another YouTuber that uses that phrase. I think that's where I got that from. Anywho, hope you are having a fantastic Friday. And let me just pull this up real quick on LinkedIn so that I can respond to questions and comments in real time. Go ahead and feel free to get your questions in. I've got this pulled up here. All right. So, without any further ado, let's jump on in. Obligatory sip of coffee. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put my favorite song on loop, which is a very important part of my process here. Got to listen to the same song in the background here, so it's all very predictable. Got our first comment here. David Stilson, happy Friday. Yes, sir. Thank you. Same to you. Appreciate you, brother. All right, let's jump in. First topic, RFPs. This is something that I have been thinking about. I'm just going to pull up this tweet real quick. That I tweeted yesterday, and I got some cool responses to. So basically, the origin of this is I had a Commerce Hero client come through who was looking for an agency and has an RFP, and it reminded me that, Commerce Hero we ended up pivoting to hiring individual developers, freelance and full time, and the whole agency or the whole client hiring an agency for bigger ticket deals never really panned out very well. And I think that the reason why is because the hiring process of an individual is very different than the RFP process. I'm not a huge fan of RFPs myself. I haven't done one in a long time. But I feel like my understanding is that it's sort of a necessary evil, and they are a process that's very manual, manual labor intensive, right? People are creating these gigantic documents, Word documents, PDFs, and emailing them around and doing revisions on them. And ultimately, the client is trying to figure out who's the best fit for this job. And the agencies are trying to, get the deal without, minimizing the amount of time. I mean, an agency, I remember in the past when I was a project manager, like, you could put in 100 hours in an RFP without having any idea whatsoever whether you're going to get paid. So whether you're going to get hired. So I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking this is essentially a B2B workflow, which needs to be streamlined, which needs to, take, Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and turn them into a web app. And then I was thinking, I've been thinking a lot about no-code tools, Airtable, Webflow, Zapier, Integromat. And I think that there's got to be a way to prototype this out using no-code tools. So I was thinking, it might be fun to kind of hack on this with somebody. And I got a couple of replies here. My buddy Jason, best way to streamline an RFP is to never do an RFP. And I'm actually genuinely curious because somebody at, I believe the COO over at Shopify Plus recently, tweeted that, RFPs are sort of old school and shouldn't really be used. Which, like, honestly, that would be great. Like, I'm not a huge fan of RFPs, and if is a way that they could just not be a requirement, that would be great. But again, when there's a lot of money involved, it's just something that sort of seems like it just kind of has to happen. So I am genuinely curious to know if there are ways for bigger ticket deals to get done without RFPs. That I'd also love to know about that. But assuming that they are as much of a necessary evil as I think they are, I think that it'd be interesting to try to build something out. I got a question from Scott Beach here, whether this is related to issuing RFPs or responding to them. And the answer is both. So I'm thinking both in terms of how can you create a tool that makes it really easy for a client to build out an RFP that it ultimately expresses their preferences well, and quickly, and also that makes it easy then for agencies to quickly understand what their preferences are, because one of the problems RFPs, so much of the document ends up just being kind of fluff, and it's like you need to know like what do you really care about in here, right? And there's sort of an art and a science to writing a good RFP. And so I think you want to make it easy for people to create them. I think you want to make it easy for agencies to consume them, and also for agencies to bid on them. So there's a lot of moving parts here. There's really, you've got a two-sided market play that you could monetize. You could monetize it just as a tool for clients, as a tool for agencies, or for both. There's a lot of options here. A lot of ultimately interesting problems to solve. Got a cool reply from Seth here, where he was saying, actually it's kind of neat, recently had the same idea, was about to start it soon. It was for an RFQ tool. RFQ being a request for quote, which I don't know exactly what the difference is between RFPs and RFQs. Probably some subtle differences. And he's talking about enterprise procurement, which is a little bit of a related, but probably a little bit of a related problem space to the problem space I'm thinking about with like e-commerce agents, e-commerce agency bidding. And so, yeah, we'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what we can hack together quickly. I think ultimately, it's pretty simple. It's like, give the client an easy way to build out a template and to select from the types of things that matter to, let's just focus specifically on e-commerce builds, right? Because that's what we know. So, for example, I was talking with a buddy about this yesterday, kind of brainstorming some ideas. For example, hosting, right? Some RFPs say, well, we want to use this particular host. And, the question is, okay, is that a 100% hard requirement? Is that a soft preference, or is it somewhere in the middle? So for the RFP building process, why don't you give the client an easy place where they can choose from popular hosting options and let them select, is this a soft requirement, medium, or hard? Boom. Give them a real simple way to make that selection. And for the agencies to understand the preferences there. And then you do the same thing around a variety of different, tools. You could do similar things with schedule, right? Like the question always is, what's really driving your schedule? Like RFP is always going to say this needs to get done super fast. and then the question is, well, what's really driving that? Is there a campaign? Is there a da-da-da-da-da? So again, give people easy things to select, to really express their preferences, and to build something out that will really be useful for people. So at the end of the day, it's kind of like as simple as like an interactive quiz, or an interactive, and like an interactive thing where they're survey, where they're just selecting options. And so maybe you can do that with a form builder, and then take that data, pull it into Airtable, maybe take that, and then from there maybe pull it into a format that's really nice and presentable, and pull it into a nice PDF format with something. So there's got to be some ways to do some stuff there. So that is the idea there, and we will see if we can carve out some time to hack away on that. All right, next up in the program, I noticed this yesterday from Jack. What's his last name? Jack, the Twitter founder. I cannot remember. Jack, the Twitter founder, also the founder of Cash App. Now anyone can buy $42 or even $1 worth of Berkshire Hathaway A. Oh, shoot. I just got a comment. This is a little tricky. This happens. Sometimes I move to one topic and then I get a comment a little delayed for the previous topic. But I will allow it because it's for my dude, Ben Stavely. Comment here on the RFP. In my experience, anyone doing an RFP is only having to do it to show due diligence internally that they consider multiple options. More often than not, they already have a favorite preference before the process even starts. My opinion was, if you weren't the agency already with the relationship with the brand when they start the process, there isn't much point in responding. Yeah, this is super 100%. And these are the types of these that when you've actually gone through the dog and pony show enough times. Let me go back up my tweet screen here for video purposes. Like these are the things you learn to read between the lines. Like so much of that's the thing about so much of this process is really it's like a necessary evil or unnecessary evil, depending on how you see it, whether from a number of different perspectives, whether that means it's just sort of a BS exercise to show some due diligence on their end, or whether whatever the reasons are. But like so much of the time it's a dance. It's like a dance between the client and the agencies to, it's like the client wants to show like, yeah, we've done our diligence, the agencies want to show like, yeah, we're very serious about this. So they want to put in a certain amount of time into the process, while at the same time not burning a bunch of time on their end, because time is money. So I'm sure this is true a significant amount of the time. I mean, I've definitely been a part of RFPs where that was not the case. And again, this is a while ago. So I'm sure this is true a good chunk of the time. And so much of the time, like the agency, it's like the RFP is what's on paper. And what the agency wants to know is they want to get someone on the phone and they want to know, like, what's the deal here? What's the real deal? So they want to talk to somebody. So it's almost like on some level, the RFPs are a little meaningless. And like there should probably be a way to bake that into an RFP to just be like, and maybe this is fundamentally not possible, but to maybe say, look, up front, we have a preference. Boom, here's the person that we have preference on, right? Like, why not just say it, And then say, listen, we're giving other people an opportunity to bid on this, but there is a preference going into it. And again, the client doesn't want to say that because then the other agencies aren't going to take the process serious, which is what they want. But everybody sort of already knows what this dance is anyways. So it's an interesting and sort of messy kind of enterprise problem. All right. Thanks for that, Ben. Looking forward to seeing you soon out here in Austin. Okay, back to the Cash App thing. All right, so now anyone can buy $42 or even $1 worth of Berkshire Hathaway or Tesla or whatever instantly and for free right in the Cash App. Really proud of the team for making buying stocks and building wealth accessible to more people. So this is cool. Like, I'm not a big stock buyer. That's something I want to get better at. But my understanding is pretty much everything that you use to buy stocks, you're going to charge you fees. I don't know if this is the first option to really buy such a low dollar amount of stocks with no fees. It's the first I've seen, which makes it pretty unique. And the Cash App is pretty interesting. Obviously, Jack, I literally still cannot remember. I got to pull up his last name because this is getting absurd. Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey. So Jack Dorsey, obviously incredibly talented founder and doing super interesting things with the Cash App. Sponsors every podcast on the planet. But it's impressive to see this. I tried to set up a Cash App and I ran into some issues onboarding it. So I gotta get that going. But this is really cool. Sort of democratizing the process of buying stocks, making it easier for people. Because who wants to buy stocks when you're gonna pay a $15 fee? You know what I mean? Like, I know those are small amounts, but still, like, they create friction in the process of buying stocks. So I need to get some Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett knows a thing or two about a thing or two. All right, next up in the program. Couple of Future Commerce shirts. I was kind of goofing around with these. I've been paying closer attention to the Future Commerce podcast, and Brian and Phil have this kind of e-commerce nihilism shtick, which is hilarious. And Phil had a bunch of sort of funny phrases. And then I just have a designer working on some t-shirt designs just 'cause I think it's funny. This one, I can't remember if I came up with this one or Phil did. But anyways, I think this is a hilarious shirt, Thought Leader. Everybody keeps telling me that you need to put quotes on it to make it obvious that it's a joke. But I think it goes without saying that it's a joke. Nobody would refer to themselves as a thought leader. That's the joke. So I think this shirt is hilarious. I want to put these. We got to throw these up somewhere, and I don't know if they're gonna want to actually, throw these up on a merch section or not. If not, then it was just a fun little exercise. This one's funny. My bank is empty and my Instagram is full. AMA. We have like 20 different phrases queued up of like super funny stuff. This one's funny. Life is meaningless. Subscribe to my newsletter. So anyways, this is just kind of fun. That's all. Nothing very, very insightful here, but yeah, we'll see if that goes anywhere. Okay, next up. Oh, this is not going to actually show up on my screen share because I'm not logged in, which is on purpose. But I created a content creator Facebook group. Me and my buddy Steve. We're thinking about spinning up. Let me see if I can find the tweet at least. We're thinking about spinning up kind of a little content-related business. Shocker. To kind of do some of the content post-production stuff that I've been doing lately. Kind of productize that. So I'm just trying to find this tweet for the screen. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Fired up a Facebook group to talk content. If you're interested, request an invite. So this is just, and by the way, Cassie, if this makes it into post-production, go ahead and include this link in LinkedIn post and different places like that so people know how to get to it. But yeah, so basically it's a private group to just talk about content and things like that. For those of us that are making content and sort of whether it's video or primarily video, but even different types of content, like I know there's a lot of stuff I'm thinking through and just having like a safe space to talk about stuff, bounce ideas, ask questions, things like that. So we will see how this goes. See if we get some people in here to check it out. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. Okay, next up in the program. I want to give let me just pull this up on the screen. Actually, let me pull this up first. Okay, there we go. So this, no, don't play the video. If it auto plays the video, okay, cool. I'll say that'll mess up my live stream. My buddy Drew Perowit, who was my boss back at a couple jobs ago, and just has become a great friend, and is doing has a podcast called Broken Brain. This actually particular post is from a podcast he did with another friend of his on the topic of friendship. But Drew is just an incredible guy, and is putting out a ton of really interesting content in his Broken Brain podcast. But anyways, he one of the things I really appreciate about Drew is what his thoughts on the topic of friendship. And there's a podcast that he was doing for a little while. Last episode is actually January 2019. And so I love this podcast. Like, it literally, he talks about topics of friendship, which is such a, I think there's such a need for content related to friendship. It's one of these things that we don't talk about very much. You know, as adults, it's like you become an adult and it's like all of a sudden it's like so hard to have meaningful friendships, and you kind of can lose a lot of your friendships over time and not cultivate them. And Drew just talks about friendship from so many different angles. And Drew is just like an amazing friend. Like, I just having experienced it firsthand, just, I don't know, just everything about him. Like, this is just like, this is just him. This is like so him. And so I'm not doing a good job of communicating this, but that's okay. But so basically this was an interview that he did with his dear friend, Dr. Chatterjee. And so I'm so passionate about the topic of friendship and community. It was an absolute honor. Talking about why we need friendships to thrive. And just like this is such a such an important topic. I think we underinvest in our friendships so much, just kind of by default as adults. And I think that this is something we need to be encouraged to think about, and to really cultivate. And so that's pretty much it on that. Definitely check out Drew if you are not already doing that. Really good dude. All right. What is the next thing I want to... I think I'm going to skip the last topic I had lined up here. Yep, I'm going to skip that one. All right. That is a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic Friday, and I